Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. I hope you're doing well. Tonight I'm going to get into a specific question from my comment section. It's just going to be a one and done, and it has to do with taking advantage of the high prices of Rebellion cards. I was recently talking about whether or not I want to buy more of them, and some of you want to sell some of yours now. And I want to read this comment and I want to answer to it because yeah, I mean, prices of Rebellion cards have moved, and the question should be for everybody who wants to move into Splinterlands, is now the time to move toward Rebellion? Is there another option that makes more sense? I love it. Let's get into it. My name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. I check out the comment section regularly, and so please leave your comments and questions, and I will do my best to answer them. I think it's a wonderful way for me to engage with you guys, because I can see what you want, what you're talking about, what you're concerned about, and then try and, stay on top of that. Riff Summoner, who has been around for a long time, who's definitely dropped a million comments. Appreciate you, first of all. Second of all, he says, he commented on a recent video where I said, why buy Rebellion already? Because I did a frequently asked question video. I commented on 3 different comments from 3 different videos, and one of them was someone saying, Dwayne, you say you bought the Arcane Summoner, the new Rebellion Legendary Dragon Arcane Summoner that allows tactics, lookout, as well as ambush. It's an amazing summoner. I'm enjoying it. The question was like, why are you doing that now? I mean, hasn't the price already gone up a lot? And I had to say there's sort of multiple angles as to why I would justify doing that and why I did that, and why I'm not yet maybe going forward on some of the other Rebellion cards. But then Riff Summoner jumps in and he goes, not only is he not buying, I guess, look at this. I'm actually selling my Rebellion cards because they've already appreciated so much, like 2 or 3 times. I know they can appreciate more, but with everything else depreciating, I would rather buy Chaos Legion and Rift Watcher cards because they are fairly stable. And I believe they have already seen the bottom, so it might not get lower than this. SPS is also a good option. I bought SPS at like 1.2 cents. Now SPS at 3x. Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in this, man. There's a lot of wisdom in this, and I think there's multiple angles I want to talk on this. I guess the first point that I want to address is the idea that Rebellion has 2 to 3x'd, and it makes some sense to sort of take some of that profit. I don't agree that Rebellion generally has done that. Now, I do say that he's almost certainly right with respect to certain key cards. And I don't know Riff Summoner's entry point or how he accessed his Rebellion cards, but if he did, access early during the pre-sale, then he would have got those promos. If he got the promos, that's a big deal because those promo cards were one of the biggest monetary winners, right? I mean, especially if you got some of these gold foils, not those ones. Let's see it. There he is, Grimbarden Smith, $4.40 now. This thing has been cruising around $3.30, $3.50, and in fact, it was, it really quickly escalated above $2. So Grimbarden Smith has absolutely been part of the story he's telling, and he's right? That's a huge appreciation. And you got one of those for every, I want to say, was it every 100? It was one of these for every 10 packs. For every 10 packs you got one of these. And a pack is $4. If you spent $40 on packs, plus remember you got discounts. If you bought, bigger chunks of packs, and you got even more discounts. And then they were selling for about $3 if you're buying them. Actually, that wouldn't have given you the promos, but yeah, I mean, they were selling for less than $4 when you got your bonuses. And so to think you buy 10 packs and you get essentially 1 pack free because this is a $4 value, more than, that's where his point starts making sense. And it's not just Grimbarden Smith, it's also Mantaroth. This card was 25 to 30 on launch day, 46 now. Big improvement, almost double. And there's other key cards too that I've seen go up a lot. If we look over, not at promo, but at Rebellion, Soothsayer has really shot up. That's a water card. Soothsayer, it's only a rare, but look at this. Let's erase the gold foils. It is among the I go to rare specifically, I look at regular foil specifically, and I scroll down. It is the third most expensive rare card in the Rebellion set. And so this is another example. So is Moxiel, so is Avina. Some of these cards up at the top here all of these cards on the top have gone really, really high in a very short period of time. And at every level, if you scroll down from Epic and you just see the top two to five cards, yes, there are some cards that are really desirable. Certain cards that are really doing quite well. Arcane is definitely one of them. But the point is that there are still a lot of Rebellion cards that are underwhelming in terms of their price points, and maybe that's justifiable. I'm not saying that I think that these prices are so low I want to buy them. In fact, I said in that video that he commented on, I'm not really buying everything. I'm just selectively purchasing really one or two things. Arcane was one of them. Bara from the white team with the taunt tank is definitely another. That card's amazing. A few others. Palace, the reach melee monster from that is neutral. I find that lookout really powerful. So there's 3 to maybe 10 cards that I'm selectively acquiring at this moment, and I don't know if their prices go up, down, left, or right, from here. I'm not saying that those cards are even like at a good price point, but I am saying that I want those cards, and I'm willing to move in toward them, regardless of whether they go down. Because I probably am leaning towards more those select cards are going to continue to appreciate. And I think that story can be compared to, if you just look at some of the Untamed summoners, because we're going to sell something like 1 to 3 million packs. Now, I think it's probably going to be, let's say 2 to 3 million packs. That's what I think from Rebellion, depending on what the bull market looks like, depending on what SPS does, depending on what Bitcoin does, etc. I think 2 to 3 million is very reasonable to expect. And if that is so, that puts us in that rough ballpark of like double, maybe, 30% to maybe double more than Untamed, because there's 1.5 million packs of Untamed. And so if you look at some of the Untamed cards and then you start adding those multiples, 30% to the price points, maybe a doubling of the price points to some of the best Untamed cards, I think that's what we actually could imagine for some of the best Rebellion cards. I do think they're equally impactful. I do think the supply is relatively close because of what I just said in terms of how many packs I expect to sell. And for those reasons alone, I think you then have to start speculating if a card like Arcane, or a card like Mantaroth, or a card like Bara, or Grimgarden Smith, or Soothsayer, or some of these elite Rebellion cards end up being the meta redefining card that I think they are. Maybe you already think they are. I don't know that those prices are going to level off or even slow down or fall back. Now, that's not advice. This is just me thinking things out loud. These are my thoughts, and they're informing my actions, but I do not know. And so I respect the comment for sure. The implication seems to be that you think they're either gonna fall back or hold still. I just don't see why. Particularly because you have to be talking, because you use this data, you must be talking about the really key cards. You're not talking about those ones that were at the lowest levels of the Rebellion on the marketplace, right? Like the commons and the rares that nobody cares about, because those haven't 2 or 3x'd in price. Those have stayed really stable. There's many of these cards that we don't seem to care about. And so what you're talking about has to be those key meta redefiners. And I don't see the story, I don't see the path, I don't see the argument that justifies how those ones, Arcane, Grimgarden Smith, Mantaroth, Bara, how are those not going to continue to either escalate or hold stable? Again, look at Untamed cards, let's just look at Arcane specifically to give one example, but I think this is true for other comparables too within this series. Arcane, Legendary Summoner, Dragon Summoner, 5 mana, amazing abilities, powerful card. So if the supply is even double what the kitty should be, right? That's conceivable. If we sell 3 million of these packs, this is going to be a double the supply of a kitty type situation. and Kitty was selling. Now, is this better than Kitty? I don't know. I mean, that's a hard decision. That's a hard point to make. I'm not saying it's better, but you have to remember it's not just is it better than Kitty or not. It's also a question of within the context of where this card is playable. A Kane is playable in the Modern as well as Wild, but the Modern League is sometimes where human players want to focus. And knowing not just how this is a strong summoner, but how it compares to the pool of summoners available within the Modern right now, is that impact needs to be compared to Kitty's impact while Kitty was available in the Modern. That is the comparison I think is quite apt. Now, they're very different, but I think this is powerful. I think it's appropriate. I think it fits in a lot of context. 5 mana is not a lot. That ambush is amazing. Lookout is a powerful ability too in certain contexts. And so this is a very strong card. And when I make that comparison, I think, yes, this needs to be valued in a similar sense to some of the best summoners from Modern while Untamed was new, or while Untamed was in Modern. And then you're talking thousands of dollars. I think we might be looking at like $100 per BCX. If I said $400 per BCX, that would be actual Kitty prices during the last kind of excitement run. But I'm saying during the next bull, the next excitement, the next real push for the cards being seized, being utilized in land, being soaked up by, staking elements, being soaked up by the infinite card staking that's supposedly coming. There's so many ways that cards are going to be used and absorbed, and that are never going to be sort of accessing the market, that tightening of supply should drive prices to a really crazy place. So the best of the best should always be difficult to obtain. This is one of those. As we compare like Kitty at $400 during its bull, and if we say this is going to be maybe double in issuance, double in number, is it a $200 card per BCX? Is it a $100 card per BCX? Is it a $50 card? I mean, that would be a significant improvement from this price point, a high growth from where we are now. That all points me to this card being a very reasonable price for what it could do in the future. But also, that's one part of the puzzle, but the other is that I want it. I want to play with it. I love this game. I'm playing every day. So there's two pieces. I do have a justification for how it could appreciate and why I would have to pay more later. I don't necessarily buy that they've done, the key cards have gone up 2 or 3 times and therefore they're not going to go any further. That's what I want to say about the Rebellion card appreciation. But I do like what your head is at when you talk about that, because it's like you've had Rebellion for a short window. And some would say, I just got Rebellion. I'm not going to think about selling it. But Riff Summoner is saying, okay, I just got it. But man, some of these cards have really appreciated in the short time I've had them. And if I was to think about selling those cards, even though I might like them, even though those cards are integral now to how I play the game, they probably are the ones you're talking about, which have appreciated at those levels. But if I'm willing to sell those, that might allow me to move into something else. Everything else is either depreciating, you say, or you'd rather have it. Chaos Legion, Rift Watcher cards, they may be fairly stable. I like that thinking. It's like no one's talking about Chaos Legion. You haven't seen a video in Splinterlands on YouTube recently saying Chaos Legion, that's the thing to chase after. And so when no one's talking about it, I actually like that you're asking that question or thinking that thought. I actually think, Chaos Legion at $1 a pack. I mean, one day I am convinced, and you can throw this comment away if you want, but I am convinced the Rebellion packs will never, they will not be $1 forever. I think they'll be $5 or $10. I think $10 is probably pretty plausible, regardless of the huge supply, because of all the sinks that are available, whether it's land or infinite card staking within Splinterlands, etc. We talked about not the battle chest, but there's a lot of different functionality that's coming to, as well as growth of player base, as well as to me, this is going to be a limited supply object that we are going to at one point remember and recognize that even the Chaos Legion is in short supply. Yes, it's 5x on some of the other editions, That doesn't mean it's infinite. That doesn't mean it can't run out. That doesn't mean supply versus demand can't tighten up and the prices escalate in a dramatic fashion, even if not comparable. If it goes up 10 times, I do think other assets will go up significantly. And so it's not like Chaos Legion is this standalone benefiter, but I like that you're looking at that while probably many others aren't. Rift Watchers, I think, is probably one that more people are looking at. And my data kind of shows that the Rift Watcher cards have kind of ticked up more recently. I could pull some data up in a minute here maybe. But I do think there are definitely some options for some Chaos Legion cards, particularly if you have land plots that are understaffed, or if you have, if you're missing anything, like from that Chaos Legion edition, for sure. Absolutely. I would love to sell Rebellion cards that I don't really want, or that I have copies of, extra copies, to then add 2 or 3x to move into cards that I don't even have that might be in Chaos or Rift Watcher. And I currently am personally trying to track down some of those Rift Watchers, some of those Chaos Legion cards. Actually, I think I have a max Chaos everything, but definitely some of those Rift Watcher cards for me, I'm trying to still track down, because you're right. Those prices haven't moved in the same ways. They have fallen, and I do think they're probably stable. I do think they relatively have reached a bottom. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I even like how you're thinking. I just think it's important. I guess the one main pushback I want to put on all of that is just that it would be, I don't know that it's accurate to say that all Rebellion has done that. I think you've noticed something within the context of what you've acquired, but that's not been the story for a lot of those cards. And then finally, you talk about SPS. Yeah, man, this is it. SPS was already tripled for some people. That's wild. Like I bought 2 validator nodes, and I paid in SPS. And I want to say I paid about 15,000 SPS each. And then I sold those 2 validator nodes at a time when SPS had fallen. Yes, the nodes had fallen, but I moved into about 100,000 SPS in exchange. So my 30,000 SPS became 100,000, something like that. Those numbers are a little off. And I got that happened around 2 cents, at 2 cent SPS. So to me, at 3.8 cents yesterday, I'm looking at double. So I've sold a little bit of SPS, not because I want to cash out, not because I don't like SPS. In the same vein and logic that Riff Summoner is issuing around his profits within Rebellion, because he sees other options that he wants to approach and pursue. He's talking Chaos Legion, he's talking Rift Watchers. I'm talking about, well, I bought a couple of the Rebellion cards that I think are key, and I gave you justifications for where I think those prices could go and why. I bought some DEC. I'm sitting on a bunch more. I got about 300,000 DEC now. I can activate some of my last plots of land, and then I can start looking towards buying new ones. I have 23 plots of land. I'd love to get 100. I sold my plots of land around $400, $500 per, and I bought tons of assets, but now I want more. I want them back. I want to keep at some point. I want a castle maybe. I want to buy a track. So I like what your comment is saying. There's a thoughtful concern and I guess approach to handling your assets within Splinterlands. This is absolutely a complicated thing where you definitely need to understand that just because you love something doesn't mean you hold on to it. You sometimes sell it even when you do, and even when you do think it might appreciate. And I suspect if we could talk more in depth about this, you have confidence in these Rebellion cards that have already appreciated. You're just saying that you think there's some other things that have fallen further or held down longer, and so they might be the move to multiply your multiplication. It's like to multiply your already existing gains. I get it. I like it. I think I'm trying to do the same thing in my own way. Thank you so much for the comment, Riff Summoner. I hope you have an amazing day, and everybody out there too. God bless, guys. Bye for now.